Welcome to your Frequency Shift podcast. Today, we have a profound privilege of hosting a man whose journey epitomizes transformation, resilience, and boundless potential of the human spirit. Mat Steinwede is not just Australia's leading real estate agent. He is a devoted father of seven, a visionary leader, and an inspiration to countless individuals seeking to rewrite their own stories. Mat's life is a testament to the power of grit and unwavering trust in oneself and in the goodness that others see in us. From the depths of homelessness and the challenges of addiction, he has risen to become a beacon of hope and a guiding light for those navigating their own path to fulfillment. His authentic expression and commitment to his core principles have not only redefined his destiny, but have empowered others to realize their optimum capabilities. As a father, Mat embodies love, dedication, and the profound impact of leading by example. His journey teaches us about the importance of emotional mastery, energy management, and how tuning into your intuitive guidance can transform our lives in unimaginable ways. Welcome, Mat. Thank you so much for being.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
It is. It's now at 5:05 in the morning. And this is just, I will say this is maybe the earliest podcast I've done.
Well, it's like 11 o'clock, no, 10 o'clock here or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, as long as you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, I'm just giving you some questions. You're doing all the hard work today. Oh, goodness. Mat, so diving straight in today, your journey has been nothing short of extraordinary. And I think, one of the key things that I want to, ask is just what was it that brought you to that turning point in terms of just that desire to transform your life and just pursue something bigger?
I don't really know one thing. I think when there's been a whole myriad of things along the way, but when I was a drug addict, and I was in a pretty bad way, but I got into real estate because an ex-girlfriend. I left Sydney, and an ex-girlfriend said to me on the phone one day. I said, "Oh, what should I do? I'm in a bit of trouble." And she's like, "A bit of trouble? You got people after you. You got people trying to kill you. You got all these things." And I said to her, "I just don't know what I'm going to do." And she said, "That's a very I've jumped forward a lot, but she said, why don't you get into real estate?" And I thought, I didn't even know what real estate was. So I grabbed the Yellow Pages, which is like the phone book, and I rang all the companies on the Central Coast. And a friend gave me a home up here because I had nowhere to live, and he picked me up from Sydney, brought me up here, put me in a room. I was still injecting a lot of drugs at that time, still.
Sure.
But and then this lady gave me a job from like a home office, and she said, just go and door knock every day. No one else would give me a job. My friend bought me a couple of polo shirts, I don't know what you call them there, if you call them sexy, but just, the shirts with a little collar and short sleeves. And so I used to walk the streets every day asking. I had no car, so I just used to walk all day and just knock on people's doors and saying, would you like to sell your home? And after a while, I found a lot of people that did sort of over time, and then I have to run all the way back to the office, get the lady and get her. Anyway, about a year into it, maybe not quite, I got the bus home to this place I was renting, or this room I was renting off this elderly lady. A lot of things happened in the middle of all this, but I got a phone call from the guy who owned the fish and chip shop in the little country town where I was hiding out, and his name was Ray. And I got home at like 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night and walked in. The phone rang. The lady whose house I was renting a room from, she was about 90, so she didn't hear it. She's sitting in front of the TV like this close, watching the TV at night. And he said, "Oh, Mat, it's Ray from the fish and chip shop." And I'm thinking, I was on the run, sort of. Like I had a lot of warrants out for my arrest. I had criminals after me that I was connected with for all various reasons. And Anyway, I said, how did you get this number? He goes, don't worry about that. Because he was from King's Cross, which is like a criminal area in Sydney back then. And he was sort of not hiding out, but he'd left as well. And he said, you've just been on Australia's Most Wanted. And I was like, oh, far out. And the girl I was seeing at that time, her whole family were watching the show, and they were all Mormons. And I popped up that night saying, you know, Mat Steinwede warrants out for his arrest. Have you seen him? Blah, blah, blah. And then her dad turned up on the doorstep like 5 minutes later. Anyway, I went to Sydney the next day, handed myself back in, went to court. And
Wow.
at the end of it, the judge said, she looked at me because the girl's mum testified, and the old lady who I was renting a room from, she testified and said, Matt's such a lovely boy, you know, he helps me out. And I was really trying to change my life, turn my life around, because I was a pretty hardened criminal, if I'm honest about it. I was a raving animal, a roving animal. I was involved in a lot of bad things. But the judge looked at me, and I'll never forget the way she looked at me, and she said, Matt, she goes, you should be going to jail for quite a few years today. One of the charges was one under manslaughter, like this grievous bodily harm, malicious wounding, all these things, but I had a lot of other ones as well. And she said, Matt, this one alone is 5 years you should be getting today. Just this one charge alone. I had about 14. And she said, I don't know what it is. She said, I just see some good in you, and I'm going to give you a second chance. But wow. if you come back again, you will go to prison for half your life. Anyway, so I walked out of the courtroom, and the guy that picked me up from Sydney, I rang him. And I remember it so clearly. It's like 30 years ago now, but I walked out of the door, got Karina's phone, the girl I was seeing, and I rang Dino, and I said, Dino, I'm going to make you a promise. I'm going to become Australia's #1 agent. And that one promise, I think, has literally, because I loved him so much, because he basically saved me. Because when I was in Sydney, I rang him and said, can you come pick me up? I'm going to be dead or in jail any day. I can feel it. And he just drove down. I'd only known him 6 months. He just drove down, picked me up, put me out the back of his parents' house. But that one promise I made to him, I think really gave me a bit of a compass to work towards.
Do you find that you trusted your judgment at that time, or was it just this intuitive impulse that said, well, I can trust this guy, he's going to be my North Star.
Yeah.
This is the only pair of hands that are willing to touch me at this moment in time.
I think so. I think so. And you know how they say you got to hit rock bottom. I was way past rock bottom. I can't even tell you where I was at, but I don't know what it was. It's just something about the conviction of, you get to that point where you go, I just know I'm capable of more. I don't know. And still today, I think that's one of the things that still drives me today, because we're not #1 now. We're #3, and I've set a goal, and I'm vlogging it to get back to #1. It's a big job, and everyone's around me. Yeah. Like I own a big company today. Well, when I say big, I own a reasonable company, about 250 people, 10, 12 offices. We're growing. Yeah. And everyone's like, why are you bothering? And I'm sort of like, well, it's just in me. I just want to do my best, and I want to continue to do that. So I don't know. To answer your question, I think that was one defining moment where I was, well, what am I going to do with myself? You know, it's that. What do you want life to look like? Do you want to give it the biggest crack you can? But I did relapse on drugs a few times along the way. I didn't just all of a sudden sort it out. I had to do community service for a long time. I don't know what they call it there, but I had to do that. I had to do all of that stuff, and it took me 8 years to pay back the fines that she gave me. But I did it, and I think it was just one little accomplishment after another that I started to feel like, okay, all right, I'm getting somewhere here.
So you were actually looking at your environment as a compass, and that was proving to you that you can trust yourself and trust your word as you're starting to take these little steps. So you built that muscle bit by bit by bit by bit. That
Yeah,
does make a lot of sense. Just
I think
out of
so.
curiosity, Matt, with the addiction side of things, and maybe with what your life looked at before this version of you like stepped into play that you've built. Um,
Mm.
what do you think maybe led to those, the series of decisions before you maybe dove into drugs? Just a little bit, if you could touch on your childhood or just what that maybe looked like, um,
You
just the
know,
context.
I grew up at Maroubra in a surfing place, so it's a like a bit of a poor surfing place. It's a bit hot in here, Ash. And I I grew up there, and then I started taking speed when I was about 15, and
Wow.
then when I was about 17, this girl said to me, "Oh, have you been? Do you want to come into Oxford Street with me?" And I was like, "What is Oxford Street?" I wouldn't have a clue. I was just this little. I only grew up in Maroubra, and that was it. That's all I really knew. And she said, "Oh, that's the party place, and we should take some ecstasy." And I said, "Oh, don't even know what that is." So I went in, and it was the best night of my life, the best ever. And I saw all these people in there, and the clubs were pumping, and I'd never really been to nightclubs. There was just the RSL at Maroubra. That's about all there was,
Mm.
and like which is like, I don't know what it is there, but it's like a club. Um, but the nightclub was just the funnest. It was the gay scene, so it was all you know, beautiful women, fun gay guys. It was just the best, all models, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And I never went back to the beach. I just stayed. I literally went, I just want this lifestyle, and then I went to this gym called City Gym one day, not long after, and there was all these huge guys. And I befriended this gay guy called Stephen. His name was Stephen Scott, and I said, how come these guys are so big? He goes, oh, they take steroids. And I was like, what are they? And he said, do you want me to get you some? And I said, yeah, get me some. So I started taking that, and then I got big, and then I got bigger, and then all of a sudden I felt, oh wow, like I had a good body. Like I was, I'm 6'3". I had a surfer's body, but once I filled out with steroids, my genetics were quite good. And then that brought more attention. And then I got a job as a bouncer. And then one thing led to another, and I got deeper and deeper into that scene. Women, things, girl, everything. You name it, it was going. And then that sort of led to me more as then I went from speed to pills to coke. Then I was injecting everything, and then I was trying heroin, didn't really like it, and then it was sort of, but then I just went deep, 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 and I became like an underworld person. And then I started working for people that ran the underworld, and then I started running drugs around and helping them open brothels and helping them mine prostitutes and all these things. It just went from one to another to another to another. And that's when I ended up under police surveillance for probably 2 years, and that sent me a bit crazy because they were everywhere, and then my drug habit was getting worse, and then sure enough, all the wheels fell off the cart, and then that's how I ended up homeless, and I just ended up living in this abandoned workshop in just out of the city. Just no good.
It's unreal. Did you? What was the benefit of having that identity? Just now that you look back on it, was it just the amount
There's
of
a
attention
currency.
and validation? Okay,
Yeah,
currency. Okay,
there's a currency in the criminal world, in that underworld sort of scene. I could see the bigger and scarier people were, the more respect it brought. Yeah,
okay.
and I, from a kid that just grew up with a very sheltered, parents worked just in normal jobs and they weren't around, so you're just doing whatever every day, to this whole other world that was, wow, you can sort of, it's almost, there's everything there. You just got to be the person that is most connected, and then all of a sudden your world just opens right up. So I actually really liked it.
I can see what's to like. It
I
makes a lot
did.
of sense.
I
It's also
love
quite simple as well. It's
it.
very
It
well
is. Yeah.
structured. It's very clear.
Yeah, I didn't, and even when I was homeless, I didn't really care. Oh, I cared, but I didn't really. It didn't bother me as much because I used to just sleep with whoever girl I was sleeping with. I just live at her house anyway. So I never really had a house. Like I never really had anywhere that was you go home to. I just go to their house all the time or whoever. So I was sort of lived like that anyway.
So you were savvy with your money as well. You had a plan there and a good framework.
I was not savvy with my money. I just spent it on drugs. I used to spend about $30,000 a weekend on drugs.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it was a darn good party then.
It was good.
Matt, I want to dive a little bit more into just, this version of you here today. If you were to look at the values that you are living your life by at this moment in time,
yeah.
If you had to verbalize the top 3 or 5 values, what would you say those are for you at this moment in time?
Yeah, honesty. Honesty is the number one of the number one. It's probably everything, because it just not to myself, to my wife, to people at work. I'm known for being blunt. And I think if you look at the emotions of resentment and even anxiety in a way, it's usually a communication thing. So if something's on my mind, I say it. If I feel a certain way, I say it. So people know where they stand with me. But also, if I'm going to do something, I do it. Even the little things in the sauna, if I say I'm going to stay in there for 25 minutes at 90 degrees centigrade, I do it. Even though I feel like getting out at 20 sometimes, I said, no, I've said 25. In the ice bath, 6 minutes, -1, I do it. If I get up in the morning and my routine is this, I do it. And I just don't let myself off. And I think, you asked about other values. I think that's how I live my life, with that one. Everything else seems to fall around it in the way it should. But I think a lot of the negative emotions come from not being honest.
I can resonate with that. My personal primary value is authenticity. So authentically expressing oneself. With that value that plays out, do you find that you maybe have principles that you follow as well? So, just maybe there's a mantra, or there's just a phrase or something that you call upon and bring forth from your subconscious or to your subconscious time and time again, just to keep yourself in alignment with, that North Star that you've set for yourself.
Yeah, I have a saying that everyone knows me by, and it's, you want it, you'll do it. Everyone knows that's my saying. You want it, you'll do it. So I think quite often people, it all sounds good in the beginning. I'll set this new target, or I'll go to the gym, or I'll do this, or I'll increase my results. But 6 months down the track, it just doesn't have any meaning. They just don't do it. You let yourself off once, I see it once, that's the time you go backwards. Whether it's drinking, whether it's drugs, it becomes okay. Oh, well, it's okay. Nothing happened then. I did that then. I'll just do it. I feel like doing it again. I'll do that. And even if it creeps in slowly. I'm telling you, it creeps in slowly. And it's the little things. It's like, I will not eat anything outside of my meal plans. Like, gut health is huge for me. It's everything I shoot for now. And I'm quite deep into it, but I won't eat anything outside of it. I tell a lie. I ate 3 spoonfuls of Tara's birthday cake a week ago because she said, please have some of my cake. And she actually comes over all of that. So yeah. But anything else, how serious am I about health? That's what goes through my mind. How serious am I about health? Because the processed convenient food or the relaxing emotional food, that doesn't belong in me. So am I prepared enough? Am I do I have enough knowledge around what I can and can't eat? Because that takes a lot of work too. And I think laziness is such an easy, sorry, Stormy. It's such an easy option to slip into, but the cost is massive. So laziness, I think, is the reason that you will fail, that you will end up the version of you that you're not happy with, or end up at the results in life you're not happy with, because it takes a lot of work to stay on track.
Just with what you're saying there, I find that if you don't have a clear why in why you're
Yep.
doing what you're doing, and that thing that creates the meaning to the work or the way that you're choosing to live your life, if you're unable to clarify that, I mean, what is the point?
Yeah.
You're just running this to-do list. There's
Yeah,
no
you are.
substance to what you're actually doing.
It's absolutely right. And I think sometimes when people want to do stuff, I don't know that they actually mentally prepare enough. Like I
Sure.
think the excitement of the moment is fine. A friend of mine has a saying: character is still doing what it takes long after the feeling of excitement has gone.
Mm.
And it's so true. It's the truest thing, because it took me to get to number one in McGrath. And look, I'm nobody special. I just have realized that it's completely up to me what the outcome is. I've really come to realize that everything in life is up to me. Like it's, and if I set a target now, I'm acutely aware that it's going to take a lot more work than I think it's going to take. A lot more work. So if I think it's going to, you almost need to double it. It might take double as long. It might take double as much effort. But am I prepared to do that? And before I set it,
that's a brilliant frame. That is a brilliant frame of mind to be in, because then you don't have this expectation where it's like, oh, I'm going to get this done in X, Y, and Z. You've doubled that. You've created more capacity. So there's a higher likelihood that you're going to be able to follow through because you've prepped for it, like you just said.
Yeah. So I think now, and look, this is a 50-year-old Matt, not a 25-year-old Matt that's,
sure,
thinks everything's, oh yeah, I'll just sort it out. But now I'm like, okay, if I want to, even number one in McGrath, that when I first joined McGrath, I was number one in Rain and Horn, another company that had 3,000 salespeople. McGrath only have 1,000. But when I got to McGrath, they were writing, in terms of figures, that's how we sort of rate it. But they were writing at least three to five times as much as me. The number 1 and 2 and 3 people, even the number 10 person was writing at least double. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. I'll have to work out how to do that. Then about 4 years into it, I said to John McGrath, the founder of it, I'm going to become number 1 in McGrath. And he said, I don't think you can, from where you live, because we live in a little coastal town. He said, I don't think you can, because I'm competing against some of the best agents in Sydney who sell properties, 10 times as expensive as ours. And I said to John, I can do it. I can do it. And I think it took me about 12 years. But not one day did I come in and not take my eye off where I needed to go. Not one day. And some years I would get, so when the awards nights come, some years I would get number 2 and I'd have to start all over again. And number 3 or things like this. And I just never, it's that excitement. It's holding the excitement long enough until you get there. And I think that's why sometimes people just go, oh, it's all a bit too hard. It's not too hard. You just got to give it more time. Who do you need to become to achieve that thing? And that's what I always think about. Who do I need to become? What do I need to move around life so I can have the space to concentrate on it? Because people let life get in the way a lot.
And do you find by asking yourself that question, that gives you an opportunity to maybe balance all the different areas of your life with a little bit more ease and grace than most? Because I know as a father and a business owner, like it's a lot, especially when you're trying to be present. Like there's only so much of you at the end of the day, and you still got to live for yourself, and still got to find time for your partner or your wife. And just with that frame, what other things do you maybe put in place to ensure that you're able to get to all these important facets of life? Because yes, you can be obviously number 1 in business. That's an incredible North Star, but that's not your entire life. There's a whole other side to Matt as well. What do you do just to keep yourself like plugged in and engaged with your family and just with dear ones in your space?
Yeah, I say no to about 95% of things. So if you look at your day, then your day is all you can work on. People talk about ideal weeks, and you don't know what's going to happen next Thursday. So what's the point of even thinking about it? But when you enter tomorrow, I can pretty much guard my time most days. So if I'm, got your morning routine, then you got a bit of time with Tara and Summer. Today I had to drop Flora to school, and then you got work for this amount of time. Then you got to train in the afternoon. They're the big chunks. The rest, I don't want to go to dinner with people. I don't want to go, waste time doing other things. I'm so protective of my time that I've learned that if I do that enough, I'll get there, whatever that is. I want a great marriage. I've been divorced twice, and I've been married 3 times. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about marrying the right person. I've learned a lot about understanding the other person. I've learned a lot about freedom with each other, all of these sorts of things. But if I don't water the garden, it's going to die.
Of course.
It doesn't matter who you're with. So a bit of the day is that. It doesn't have to be a lot. That even just ringing to say, I'm just thinking about you. How's your day going? Things like that. And if you have, like you said then, Nick, there's only so much time. There's only one of me. But what are the most important things of the day that's going to add to your future later? And that's what I look at really carefully. It's everything else I just don't do. I'm not in. And on top of that, I don't mow the lawn. I have a housekeeper. I have a nanny. We've only got one kid that's a baby, but Tara's mum, I pay her to be a nanny. So Tara has mental time as well. And there's not too much load on. A lot of young people, they get married, they have babies, and they don't realize that babies actually amplify the problems. So it doesn't make the world brighter and better, might for a little bit, but then you've got to manage that. So if you're going to do something here, where's the time going to come from? If you're going to add something, what's got to be taken out? That's how I see time. Just like blocks of, it might sound very robotic, but if you don't do it, if you don't do it, like I drive past people mowing the lawn and I literally can't understand it. I can't understand how people wouldn't pay someone $60 to whatever it is to mow their lawn, because that 1 hour of time to me is invaluable. It never comes back again. And I'd rather use it in another way. So that's how I see it. Even the housekeeper, do I need the housekeeper? Tara has acute OCD, but I do need the housekeeper because I don't want to mop the floor or do the laundry or get the groceries or anything like that. And to me, the value of spending money there allows me to do a lot more over here. And I look for that time leverage a lot. And I think people may not be in a position to do that, but you can work towards it. You can say, I'm going to get a cleaner in once a week, just on this time. And that all of a sudden you've got 2 hours of time over there that you didn't have before. And you slowly start designing your life. Like you said before, Nick, pick your North Star. What does that life look like for you? And what's the next piece of the puzzle that you can bring in? Just the next one, whatever that is. Just one simple thing. Date night. Every week we've got date night, Tara and I. It's important. I could quite easily go, I'm too busy, can't get there, whatever. But do I want the relationship to grow or do I want it to die? The only way to make it grow is invest time. So I see that with everything. Once the momentum's going, it literally turns into a juggernaut. But if you don't, it goes.
It's true. And I think most people don't see the lack of their time allocation towards those important things. And so many times I sit down with individuals and they're like, well, I don't know why my relationship has gone to shit. I always bought my wife things. We always, we went on dates once in a while. We've gone overseas time and time again. But I said, well, it's not necessarily the thing that you weren't there in person. It was the amount of presence that was behind those activities. Like if you are going to allocate time to something, like you've said over and over again, like, do your best, like plug yourself into that, be there.
Yeah, it's true, Nick. And the littlest, it's the little bit at the end that I look at now. Like you can do the task, but it's that little extra bit. You do enough little extra bits, you watch what happens with your results in every area of your life, whether it be fitness, whether it be gut health, whether it be relationship. It's that little extra bit. What's the extra little bit you could do today? Just a little. It could be just sitting there, like not even staying in the ice bath longer, So I have this ice bath which has a circulator. These guys custom make them. They're amazing. So hard, so hard. I used to think I was killing it sitting in the ice bath for 30 minutes in a chest freezer. These ones, even the creators go, I don't know how you're sitting there for 6 minutes. And I'm like, I make myself. And they can only do 3 minutes because it's got this circulator and it can run it below zero, but not freeze. So it's really cold. But what I'm saying is the effect of the ice bath is seen, sure, in it, but when you get out, when you start to twitch, cold like this, that's where the real heat shock proteins go to work. So that's where it's really the most beneficial. I say to myself now, how long can I stay? Can I stay an extra 20 seconds? Because I get to a point where it's about 5 minutes and I start literally going like this because it's so cold. But then I say, can I go an extra just 20 seconds? Yeah. And I see that as the investment, not just doing the task. It's that little bit now, because you dial it in enough over time, you actually rebuild your brain, your resilience, your everything. But that's like that with everything. So today, what extra can I do for Tara today? Just something little, the littlest thing. It'll come to you, but I look for the extra little bit now, not just the task, because I'm pretty good at the tasks. So now I'm like, how deep can I go? I want to go deeper, not wider.
And there you come back to focus. You're clear on your priorities. You've got your frame. You've allocated that time there. Why not do even better? Like if I can do better, apply myself a little bit more.
Yeah, see what that I really understand what a 10 out of 10 day looks like. My sleep, I have a great sleep routine. If you haven't got enough sleep, you're never going to perform right. But I'm like, okay, I've got to, and you've got to know that. Like, you said it before, you've only got so much time. What does a 10 out of 10 day look like in your world? What does that look like? Why not design it? We spend a lot of time designing a house. We spend a lot of time picking clothes, doing this. Why not design a 10 out of 10 day and shoot for that? Imagine you lived a 10 out of 10 day life, a 10 out of 10 day every day for life. That's the best thing ever. That's where happiness is. That's no thing you can buy in the world, nothing will make you happier than living a 10 out of 10 day.
Because you're maximizing on your potential. You're in complete alignment with yourself. You've said the word management a couple of times, and I know that I watched one of your videos a while back where you talked about energy management, and I really liked how you brought that message through there. Looking at energy management, which I think we've touched on here with time management, you've also talked about energy before. You've talked about Abraham Hicks and their teachings and just what that all entails. On the topic of emotional mastery and that type of energy management, where did your journey start? Like what did that look like to you when you were open to seeing and experiencing life maybe from a different part of the spectrum?
I think I started listening to motivation. I never knew what a goal was until I ended up marrying Karina, the Mormon family girl. Yeah. And then her mum was quite driven, and she said, you need to set some goals. And I'm like, what's a goal? And she's like, this, set that. So I started listening to some motivational things, Brian Tracy and these types of people. I was like, these are really interesting. And then somehow I got on to Esther Hicks 25 years ago. And because I was a Mormon then, I used to think, oh, this is the devil, because they teach don't listen to psychics and these sorts of things. And I'm listening thinking I shouldn't be listening to this. And because I became a Mormon because they didn't want me to be with their daughter. And I thought, oh, I'll bugger you. Well, I'll just be a Mormon then I can be. And then, and then I was listening to her, and then I was thinking, this is so weird. I don't know if this is a demon. And I used to spend more time thinking about that. But then over time, when I didn't listen to her, everything else felt a bit surfacey. And then I listened to her and got used to her language. I was thinking, there's something in this. There's really something in this. And then I looked back at my life when I was living in Sydney and the chaos that was down there, and nothing used to go right. It was just always, like this, drama. And then my life living up here in a more normal way was much steadier. And I could feel the two different energies of this and that down there. And And in the Book of Mormon, it says once your frequency changes or something, can't remember the words, but it says once your frequency changes, your enemies won't be able to find you and have no power over you. Now, remember, I had 2 contracts taken out in my life, so people were paid to kill me. And I got a call one day from one of them, and they said, "We know where you are." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, come get me then. I can't do anything about it. Just come and get me." And nothing ever happened. And I started to see, and I used to sit in church, and the people used to be speaking up the front, and I used to sit there and go, "I don't think this is the way they think they're saying it is. They're saying they're all going, 'Oh, I get blessed and blessings and blessed, and God blessed me.'" And I'm sitting there going, "No." I thought, I have a deep belief in God and Jesus Christ and all of that, but I was sitting there thinking, "Nah, he doesn't sit there and just go, 'Good boy, good girl, good girl.'" I said, "This whole world is set up energetically." I'm thinking, and the better your energy gets, and this is all the way back then when I didn't really have a great understanding of it all. I'm thinking, nah, there's like levels of energy that I didn't understand the word frequency then, but I was like, once you do something good or you feel good, you hit another, almost like a video game where you get to a level.
Yes.
And I used to think, I reckon that's how it is. And then that sort of set me off on that track. And then Esther Hicks, the more I got into it, the deeper I went. I listened to other people, but I think she's the real deal. With, Joe Vitale and these people, I don't know, I just didn't really resonate as much. But Esther Hicks, and then she talked the emotional guidance scale, and I could see that basically the more excited you are, the better things go. And then the zone, once you're in the zone, everything just happens.
Like this. The vortex.
Yeah. Exactly, the vortex. Yeah, exactly right. So it's sort of like I could start, but you have to observe it as well. You have to take a step out of it and start observing your life and see how things go. And just look at how you feel when you're angry. Nothing goes good. Nothing, you don't have energy. You're not clicked in. So even this morning, Tara was in a filthy mood. She had an argument with her mum. She was talking to me, and I was trying to get out the door so I could get Flora to school and get to you. And she's like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like half going, trying to listen. There was so much detail. I'm going, oh. And she goes, "You're not listening." And I said, "I am listening." She said, "No, you're not. Don't worry about it," like this. Anyway, she goes, "I just, you never listen, la, la, la," and going off on this rant. And I just thought in this moment, I could walk out the door and the day will be terrible. And I just gave her the biggest cuddle. And I said, "I love you so much. You are the most important person in the world to me." And she cuddled me again. And then emotions are managed in the moment.
Say that again. Say that again.
Emotions are managed in the moment. It's in the moment. And I just don't let the moment go now. I refuse to be annoyed. I refuse to be anxious. It's in the moment. And then even with excitement, the moment that you're excited, you've got to milk it then, as this says, but you've got to hold yourself there. It's a choice. Emotions are a choice. So, yeah.
That's brilliant. That is brilliant. Emotions are managed in the moment. Do you find that, like, just your practices that you've developed over the years, so the sauna, the ice bath, the priming, the identity, the pre-frames, the questions that you ask yourself, would you say that alongside just having played with your frequency and having a better understanding of like where you are in terms of that emotional scale, that has maybe catalyzed your complete shift in just character, identity, I'd even say well-being? Just if you could touch a little bit on that, because I think a lot of people, they look at these things, they say, like, I'm doing the right stuff, I am showing up, I'm being consistent, but nothing is necessarily changing in the way that I'd expect it to change. And it's normally the state that is lacking. It's actually being at the right vibration to allow all these things. They're in that space of resistance, and I'd even say lack within themselves to a degree, depending on where they are.
Yeah, it is. I think I genuinely feel, Esther Hicks talks about people think they're focusing on what they want, but they're focusing on the absence of it. I think that's the mastery. And the funny thing is, focusing on what you want is done best when you're not. So like you can set, like today, whatever it is, like I want to, I don't know, list a house or something, but that is brought to you by how much you take care of people. Like how much, if you're just absorbed in I call it making people say wow. So if I just make everyone say wow that comes in contact with me today, then it's really like got this flow to it. Whereas if I'm chasing the target, it pushes it away. So I think I've really learnt to focus all the things that I can control. That's what I give all my attention to. The universe already knows what I want. And I do read I've got a vision book started again. I like it. I just started another one. But I do read that, but I do it in a way like I just know it'll happen at some point. I'm not desperately trying to chase it. I just know it will happen. And then today, when I'm in here, it's where's the next, and it's almost chasing the excitement. Like where is the energy at the moment? Because if you have, we have owners, and some properties have more energy than others. And Jordan, who works with me, he's been in a bit of a rut. And I say to him, just go where the excitement is. That's all you need to do. So if this owner's, you like talking to them and there's a bit going, just focus on that. Just focus on that, and that will slowly unravel the other ones. But I think we give attention to the squeaky wheel all the time, and the squeaky wheel is just going to make it gets louder, and it makes your energy off because you can't solve it. And I'm just okay. If people don't want to deal with me, I'm okay with that. If people want to deal with me, I love that. If something doesn't happen, it just is what it is. And that's a muscle building process though. I used to get all wrapped up and anxious and depressed and all this, but every single time something hasn't happened, something else has taken its place that's been better or different or whatever. So now I just understand, I just am letting whatever the process is, it's just the way that it is now, and it makes you more calm inside.
What I heard there was there's a certain level of discernment that you've built, and there's trusting the process, and now you're at the space of knowing that this is going to happen. Like I don't actually have to hold on to it. I can just let it go. The fact that I've written this down, decided on experiencing this, I know it's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. I just know it's going to happen. And you're also touching on the principle of just being really general, which is I'm not going to be super, super overly specific. And, you know, if you're trying to sell houses, you just use an example there, focus on where the excitement is. Focus on that.
Focus on the excitement. And
then you're still in the same arena. It's going to unravel, like you said. It's going to
absolutely. You know, Nick, I'm sorry about the time delay. I apologize. I don't mean to jump in. 100%. But you know, I was going to say something to you then about we do the stress and worry and all of that. We do to ourselves mainly. Like I drive an 8-year-old car. It's just a car, and I have enough money. Well, if you go back a bit, I have more money these days. But if I was, you know, money is a good topic because it really is a strong focus point for a lot of people. And you know how I always talk about the next piece of the puzzle. What's the next piece of the puzzle in your life? Because we're looking at a longer term view. So the next piece of the puzzle, I think for a lot of people, is just to slowly get 6 months of living expenses in the bank. Just 6 months. Get to 3 and then get to 6. And make that your entire focus for a while. Don't buy the stupid things. Don't buy the cars. Don't have a car loan. Don't buy all these things that you don't need. Just live a simple life and get 6 months in the bank. That alone will change your vibrational set point because you'll have a certain level of peace of mind. You can pay your bills, you can do your stuff. If you have a bit of a lean each month, and you have this feeling of it's okay. But when people spend what they earn, and it might take you 2 years to get 6 months of living expenses in there, but you're putting the next piece of the puzzle in all the time through that. So you're developing this great habit $50 a week away, whatever it's going to be. I don't know the numbers. But once you get to that point, you'll have this level of peace of mind where I think the power is. When you have peace of mind, you become strong, you become relaxed, you become centered. And then what next? And then what next? I live a very simple life. We do a lot of things. I have a really nice home. We don't have hardly any debt. We just have a good life. I don't want all the stuff that's going to put more pressure on me, because I want to wake up every day feeling I can run real fast today, and I want to run real fast today. I don't want to run fast because I have a car loan that's here and a mortgage that's here and a this and that. We all have things in life, but you want to, I think sometimes people are so keen to look great. I want to be great. I want to feel great over looking great any day.
And I think what you're also highlighting there is you still want to have that freedom and not be owned through debt and all these externalized pressures, because that's all it is. You're just creating unnecessary pressure, and most people buy into that illusion over and over and over again, and they try to find themselves in these things that they're buying versus finding themselves within themselves. And
the bags, the clothes, the this, the that, you know, craziness. And if you do it the other way around, slow, steady, next piece of the puzzle, next piece of the puzzle. If you live with that concept, in a few years' time, you'll have the best life, the best.
You will. Yes, you will. Matt, I've got, you know, just to honor your time as well, I've got one last question for you. And if you could part a single bit of wisdom to the younger version of you, a piece of wisdom that could shift the entire trajectory of that version's life, what would that be?
Don't drink. Ever. It's poison. Live a clean life. It's called clean for a reason. You'll feel good. When you feel good, things go good. That's it. Drink will ruin your life.
Straight to the point. Wow, that's powerful. Matt, I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing space and just for sharing your wisdom and being so open and authentic and expressing just all of you. And your energy is absolutely incredible as well. I'll just say, sitting on the other side, and it's just lovely to like see and feel this embrace of another human being. For everyone listening, if you would like to get hold of Matt, where can they find you? Where's the best place to contact you, be it for business or just PR or events?
Instagram. Where
Instagram. You just have to have the right timing. That's
right.
But thank you so much for listening, everyone. And we, as always, we appreciate you taking the time, communing with us. And I hope that you were able to just sip on something different, and that you were able to learn something about yourself and be able to reflect and take a step towards expanding, growing, and being a better version of yourself. And as always, you can make the shift.